All right, so what we're going to do is start a homeowner's quote. You want to go to your Windows Start button, select the FSC rater, and if you've been in it recently, you won't have to input your user ID and password. It'll automatically go in. If it does pop up, just enter in your email address and password to go along with it. Select Homeowners. And we'll just do the technical part of this. So we're going to enter in a quote, first name, last name, telephone number. Now all these items listed in blue, it will not proceed to an actual quote unless these items are filled out. So first name, last name, telephone number, make sure you put who they were referred by. Essentially, thank you for giving us a call. Will you refer to us by anyone or simply Yelp or Google? And then you want to do this drop down. Plenty of options in here. 90% of the time it's Google. Go ahead and select that. And for our purposes as an agency, so we can know who's doing what, make sure you select input by. Property quote 36265 Thousand Oaks Place. And as they're reading this off to you, if they say Marietta 92562, instead of typing in Marietta, you can just go 92562 and hit verify. And I'll pull this up. That way you know you're never going to get returned mail at our address. Mailing address, same as property, so you don't need to fill that out. You'll go back later on and fill in the email address once you have them in on the quote, basically, that it's going to be sold, or that you want to email it to them so you can see what you're looking at. It's one less question to ask during the quoting process. All right, here's where you'd enter in the square footage. You hit this little calculator right here. Say it's 3421 square feet. Now, if the home has nicer amenities, you want to make sure to ask them if there's granite, travertine, Brazilian hand-distressed hardwood floors. These are things that are going to raise it well beyond this $195 per square foot. So let's just say they have granite and upgraded cabinetry and those hand-distressed Brazilian nutwood floors. So let's just say you're at $225 a square foot instead. We want to make sure that we rebuild every portion of their house and not just some of it. Let me go back up here. Make sure you round it off to the closest thousand. So you're looking at 770,000. Year was built. What year was it built? 2001. And is this your primary residence? Yes, perfect. Number of units, don't worry about. That's a fire station. Number of units within the fire division, don't worry about. Automatically pop up later on. Construction type, is this a frame construction home? You're just trying to qualify whether it's a frame, mobile, or manufactured home. Roof type, if it's any time in suburbia, if it's a 1990s or above, it's going to be a concrete tile roof or a clay tile roof. Prior to that, in the 80s, 70s, you're going to probably end up with composition, but just ask them if it's a tile or composition roof. Miles from fire station. If they're in Duluth, La Cresta, wine country, somewhere way out there, they very well could be over 5 miles from a fire station, which would disqualify them from some of our, pretty much all of our preferred carriers. And 1,000 feet from a fire hydrant does the same exact thing. So in Duluth, La Cresta, wine country, you need to be asking these questions. Along in here, even though it's not listed, if it's over 5 acres, then we also need to start looking at some carriers outside of our standard go-tos. Automatically selected are smoke alarm, fire detector, deadbolts. Most people have these, so we have it pre-selected. Sprinklers, unless it's a custom build, and they have sprinklers in there, or unless it's built in the 2014, 15, 16, it probably won't have sprinklers in it. Up to code now is that they have full sprinklers throughout the house. So let's just leave this as none since the house was built in 2001. Theft alarm, local, just makes a lot of noise. It's basically local or central is what it'll end up being. Central ADT brings back to the station and automatically pings out to the fire station, police station. So let's just say it has a central alarm. Now you need to make sure you ask them if it's just a theft or theft and fire. If it is both, depending on the company, it's approximately about a 5% discount for each one. So coverage information, included. Don't even worry about increasing those amount unless they say, oh, well, I have a 4-car detached garage from my home. Then yes, absolutely, you need to get in here and start amending that information. That's not the norm, though. Detached structure, if it's connected by a breezeway, still part of one structure, it has to be a literal separation from both. So you can always add additional personal property as well, or loss of use. The liability is always at $500,000. Medical payments anywhere from 1 to 5, depending on what you'd like to select or what the insured has. Policy deductible, we've been defaulting at $2,500 simply because a lot of people are asking for it. If they're unsure of what they want, then you could just run it for both. Let them make an educated decision on what they'd like to go forward with. But you can ask them, well, would you be able to come up with $2,500 in an emergency? And they say, no, you want to do what's best by them and insuring them appropriately. Even though it may be more expensive for them, $1,000 deductible is probably where they need to be. Dwelling replacement cost, always 150%. Contents replacement cost, always checked. This should be defaulted that way, but just in case it's not, make sure it is there. Next tab, you would go to risks. So you need their birth date. This is because if they are retired and, well, the insurance companies over a certain age assume that you're retired and you will be home more often, and therefore they will provide an additional discount. So let's just say you're born in 66. Doesn't matter if they're male or female. Doesn't matter if they're married. Some companies used to provide a discount on this. This is why it's in here in the first place. Occupation, again, doesn't really matter. The only place that would matter is Safeco, and I'll get down there in a second. Area of square foot automatically transfers over from that first number you put in that calculation. Year purchased. So let's just say it was purchased this month, and that is because some companies will give you a discount for a newly purchased home. Foundation type, slab, a newer home in suburbia is probably going to be a slab. If it's a older home, we get homes in Irvine, in San Diego, further out in Riverside, and if it's built in the 50s, 60s, 70s, it very well may have a crawl space, which does affect the cost to rebuild. So you want to make sure to put that in there and make sure to consider that when you are assessing the rebuilding cost of the home. Homeowners Association, some companies will provide you with a discount on that. So you want to ask them that and make sure that's selected. Number of bathrooms, since you're talking to them, you might as well figure that out because you're going to need to know later on. Number of stories, let's say this is a 2-story. Mercury is the only company that actually charges for a 2-story residence. It is additional exposure to them, and they're going to get their money's worth, which is completely normal. All these questions you can pretty much just skip on down. Complete update. If the home again is built in the 50s, 60s, 70s, whatnot, they're going to want to see a update done to the home. Electrical, heating, plumbing, roofing massively. They want to make sure the roof is in good condition. They want to make sure that it is not a wall unit. If it is a wall unit and it's thermostatically controlled, Mercury will write a policy for that. Not everybody, but they are one. And you want to make sure to X that button if you want to start getting in there and amending those dates. All right. So, dogs on premises. Easy drop-down list. These are dogs that insurance companies don't particularly want to insure. Great Dane, yeah, not usually a problem. Husky, not usually a problem. But okay, whatever that one says. We have Alaskan Malamute, which again is a Husky, not usually a problem. But you start getting into Akitas, Chows, German Shepherds, Pit Bulls. Those are dogs that they do not want. Rottweilers, Wolf, Hybrid. I mean, some of those. So when you ask them, you can just select in here, other, if they have like a nice little lab or whatnot. Livestock on the premises. If it's a track house, you're not really going to have to worry about this. If this is out in Duluth, La Cresta, they may have 3, 4 horses. They may board horses. Those are all big issues that are going to arise. Pool or spa. Again, this is something that Mercury will charge for. Most companies do not, but they, again, because they're very tight on their underwriting, charge for that. Make sure there is no trampoline. Make sure there is no diving board. All right, discounts for umbrellas for Mercury. Now you're getting into company-specific questions down here. So umbrella discount for Mercury, construction style. The only thing that really matters in here for the Safeco product is umbrella discount and affinity discount. Safeco will actually give you an additional discount for your homeowner's insurance if you qualify for one of these listed items here. Travelers, again, their own specific questions. If there's an association credit, you need to enter it in again in here. Account credit for home saver, personal article floater. These are all varying discount levels with each of them. All right, so we go to losses. Any losses in the last 5 years, simply because it may jog their memory a little bit better. You can enter in the date of loss here. This little drop down will show you what you can have an option for. Most of the time it's water. You would select water and then enter in the total amount of the claim that the insurance company had paid out. All right, so the property class automatically going to populate earthquake insurance. If they want earthquake insurance, you would just drop that down and select deductibles and go through there. 9.9 times out of 10, that does not come up. Additional coverages. Now, again, you can go through here and add in any additional coverage that they qualify for. Not a lot are going to come up. Major ones, gated community credit, retiree credit automatically goes by date of birth, seismic shutoff valve, this would be for earthquake insurance. Senior citizen credit, again, will pull up off of the date of birth from where we put the all the other additional information. If you wanted to schedule jewelry, it would be right through here. Let's just say they have, I don't know, $5,000 for an engagement ring. Unscheduled personal property, I've never used this once. Miscellaneous property, never used that once. Your liability endorsements, animal liability. If you're thinking about quoting Stillwater, they have an animal liability exclusion. You need to make sure you list this at $300,000 in there. All right, personal injury, you want to make sure to select that. 90% of our companies automatically include personal injury, which they should. But if they don't, we want to make sure that is in there for them. All right, miscellaneous endorsements, equipment breakdowns. Safeco offers this. So we put in 15,000 for that, even though their coverage varies. I want to say it's a total of 50,000, but just in case, we put it at 15. Identity fraud, again, each company is going to do their own specific amount, but if you put an actual numerical amount in this, it'll populate whatever the company does. And then you want to scroll down to the bottom and include $5,000 in water backup. All right, renewals. Never going to use this screen. Other insurance, this is where you enter in your multi-policy discount. So we have Stillwater perhaps, Safeco, Mercury, no longer work with Mafre. Foremost, we don't do any auto insurance with them. Basically the rest of these, unless you are quoting a Chubb policy for out in Duluth or La Cresta, you could select that one. Odds are the rates aren't going to be correct anyways, but it's not a bad thing to be as accurate as possible. All right, so we've selected all of our possible other insurance selections. Okay, so real-time rates pending. So we're going to wait a minute, see what automatically pops up. And see if that goes away. If not, you want to click back to the prior screen and then click back to the scales tab there. Okay, so these are all of our companies that are rating up. These are some of our core companies here: Mercury, Safeco, Kemper, Safeco, Mercury. You can always write through CSC. The civil service means that they're a government employee. Chubb, don't work with Mafre. Travelers, right down here. Now let's move this over so you can actually see. If this ever happens to you, you can always pull this tab a little closer when it pops up like that line right there, so you can see everything that can be offered. Okay, again down here, if you want to see why markets aren't being rated. Now here's a good example, Kemper. So for some reason we're unable to give a rate with them. We definitely want to be able to give a rate with them because their rates are some of the best in terms of homeowners insurance. And even below that, if I can get it to open up here, it'll start giving you the specific coverages for the one that you selected. So let's select Safeco. These will give you your Safeco options down here. Mercury, see how that changed to be higher. What I would particularly suggest, if you really want to see what the company is offering, you would go to this next screen. Let's just call it a hammer, but if you hover over that, it'll say quote. So right now we've selected Safeco. I'm going to go to the final screen, and then it's going to give you the specifics of all of this. Policy deductible and the coverages all the way through, additional endorsements, while also including credits. Protective credits, central theft alarm, fire extinguisher, deadbolts, new buyer discount, paid in full discount. Now the problem with Safeco is they're always going to include that paid in full discount even if you select a payment plan. So you need to be aware of that when you are quoting. It's a 10% discount. We also put in a multi-policy discount because we are going to be getting the auto insurance from them as well. All right, so scheduled personal property not offered. They absolutely do offer jewelry coverage, and you're going to want to check if you are quoting jewelry that you go all the way to this final screen to make sure you look under this, because not all companies will offer the rate in FSC for what their jewelry coverage costs. Now, if they have something that they would like to specifically cover, you can bridge it right over into the company with this Golden Gate Bridge right here. It says bridge if you hover over it, and then run it through their system and see what they have to say. Now through here you can see the water backup coverage that we have, the ID fraud, equipment breakdown, all the way up through here, loss assessment coverage. Animal liability is automatically included with Safeco, so you don't need to worry about that. And then the additional remarks on the companies itself. Okay. Real-time rating. If this is green, it means you got a rate and you are good to go. The little exclamation points may mean that something is off a little bit here or there. So when you go to the actual carrier site, you'll be able to reference this specifically and make sure the rate matches up. So if you come up with a rate, let them know this rate and say, you know what, I want to verify with the company to make sure this rate is 100% accurate, but normally it is. And we will check that out for you if that is a rate that sounds good to you. Now this R is for restricted. So let's just say we go into Chubb, and I want to know what that R means, because R means, you know, perhaps we can't submit it because it's under a certain monetary value. They want to see over $1 million in coverage with Chubb. They may want to see over $1 million in business with Chubb, so we want to make sure they know. There we go. Refer to company, confirm territory with company may affect rates. So Chubb, hardly ever accurate on our FSC rating software, but that was just a good example of why you need to look at something in there. And the next one over, we have I for installment. So you want to right click on the installment, and then once you're there, it will give you a payment breakdown of monthly, full, quarterly, and then what the associated charges are for that particular payment installment. Once you're done, make sure you hit save. It's going to pop up all gray. Hit OK. Now you saved it and you're able to go back and pull that up at any time you wish. Now let's just say we went back and modified, oh, my house was built in 2007, not 2001. Oh, let's go back and amend that. Now you need to save that over again, or else you're going to give them the incorrect rate the next time they call. So hit save again. You want to make sure to keep the original quote date, because this called back to you to tell you that the year built in 2007, they may call back several days later. If you just continually use the change quote to today, you're going to save it and resave it and resave it and resave it with an incorrect date. So it doesn't give you a valid description of when this original quote process started taking place. And there we go. So that is how you run a quote.